Christmas is a time for tradition, and far be it from us to break it. And with Christmas around the corner, I think we're going to talk about terrifying Christmas folklore. This is I Have No Title and I'm Us podcast, a show where we discuss any and all aspects of pop culture. We are your hosts, Tyler
and Chris,
and our special guest host,
Becca.
And before we start, Christmas is also a time for giving. So if you're feeling generous, maybe give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It mean a lot to us. So we've kind of scoured around and gathered up different Christmas folklore from different places that lends itself more to the horror side of things. And I have to say, us American kids get off pretty easy by only getting cold for Christmas for bad. Mm-hmm. But do you think we start with Krampus? I think that's the one probably everyone knows.
Yeah, I think Krampus is probably the most obvious one. It's become more, because of the movies and things like that, it's become more part of our vernacular. So I think that's a good jumping off point, is Krampus.
And for anyone, at least on my part, the list of stuff that it's getting my information from comes from a list from The Guardian. I'll leave a post for that if anyone's interested. Kind of watered down, but it's a good starting place.
Unless you want to learn German.
Yeah.
To get the real details on all this.
Yeah, but Krampus is essentially the bad cop to Santa's good cop, except instead of bringing presents, he comes through and kidnaps the kids and takes them back to his factory where he turns them into candy.
Very German.
Yeah, that's some versions of it is he beats the kids with sticks. He carries around like the sticks, and sometimes he comes and just punishes the naughty children, or he takes them back to the underworld. There's a lot of folklore, a lot of different. It's one of those things like the telephone game. With a lot of these, there's a lot of different variations of like what the actual details are or whatever. In some places they still have the Krampus night parades, and people will dress up. They'll have like big Krampuses walk in among the crowd, and they'll be chasing people and
Krampai?
Yeah, and they'll be like chasing people in the streets and like beating people with the sticks, and it gets crazy.
That's just a normal night in Germany.
That's their version of a knock-knock joke.
Knock-knock joke.
Knock-knock, crystal knock.
It got dark real fast. Okay.
Krampus knocked.
All right. So, did they get lighter from here or just darker?
Well, I mean, I would say darker, because at least with Krampus, everyone else gets candy. I mean, it's made from bad kids, but candy.
Yeah, I could live with that. Uter. There's some nougat Uter.
The little German kid from Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka, yeah.
Well, I was thinking The Simpsons, but...
Oh, yeah, that kid, too.
Wait, so wait, is Willy Wonka the Krampus? Turning the kids into candy?
I don't... depending on what version, doesn't in one of them, don't they all get to leave? They're just, like, scarred and horribly mutilated.
Yeah, I'm going Gene Wilder's version, where it gets, like, really dark and scary in that tunnel.
He said in the end of that they're all just fine, and that he was just with Charlie.
I mean, we didn't see any bodies.
We didn't, no. He would have to have... They had, like, cameras out front, though, when they brought everybody in. If nobody came back out, I feel like that might be an issue, unless he has that on lock.
And, cannibalism is a big theme in all of the, like, Germanic folklore and stuff, too, because you have Hansel and Gretel.
Gretel.
Didn't I say Gretel?
No.
What'd I say?
Greta.
Oh.
It's on tape! We're recording now!
Well, I told you I'm kind of a zombie right now. But no, I mean, she lured the kids in to fatten them up and eat them or whatever. So, and what was it in the Johnny Depp version of Wonka? He says something about, that's called cannibalism.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when we eat each other, boys and girls, or whatever. Like,
yeah, very German. Is Christmas just a German holiday? Is it like what it's become? Do they have to usurp
it's a
everything?
pagan holiday. It's, these all go back to very early Germanic and Nordic. Most of them are Germanic and Nordic traditions.
All right. What does Krampus usually look like? Because I feel like in modern American movies, he keeps getting more and more monstrous. And
yeah, I think that's very similar in folklore, too. He's got the horns.
Just depending on who's telling the story.
Yeah, he's just almost like a big goat with these large horns, and he has his big bag on his back. And I always say I have a little tortoiseshell cat who's evil, and she was born in December, so I always celebrate her birthday on Krampus night, and I say that she fell out of Krampus's bag. And he's never come back for her. So
All right. I want to get this one out of the way. It's Frau Parte, obviously German, but actually like Austrian or from like the Alpine region. Now, I looked into a few different sources for this one, and everything gives different information. I guess probably because, like you're talking about with the telephone game, things get altered over time. So if you, depending on when you look at the information or from what region, it alters slightly. And for anybody who's never seen a Christmas documentary, you can just look at like the evolution of Santa Claus. Pretty, a few different variations depending on your region up until the early 20th century. And then everything really starts to solidify, at least in America, for like our common version. Even before then, sometimes Santa would be dressed in green, like solid like olive or forest green. And now it's pretty standard that it's...
Well, yeah, it's because he's got a trademark deal with Coca-Cola, so he has to wear red.
Yeah.
That's actually more accurate.
That's what I was going to say. Is like that's when
think.
it became, really the most common thing in our part of the world is for him to wear the red and white and, be on all the Coca-Cola merchandise. So,
but Frau Parte, apparently, depending on where you look and from when, used to be some sort of pagan goddess. So there's this duality associated with her that like sometimes you get the pretty version, sometimes you get the bad version. Sometimes it's viewed as a shape-shifting thing where she could be either or both. Commonly, if you get the mean version, commonly thought of as dressing as a peasant and having one large foot. Bro, I didn't make this up. She's here not only to scare children into being good, but anyone who hasn't kept a tidy home. She'll come into your house and check things out. She's associated with the Epiphany, whatever the that is, and you can tell us about it in a moment. And so if you haven't, she might just slit your belly open, take your guts out, and fill you back up with straw and rocks. So this is definitely German for sure. So that's Frau Parte. I don't know if that one's still a thing or if it's like, I think the German people have more things to be scared of these days. But
well, there's a counterpart, I think, to that. That's much more derived from, like, I think the more Catholic side, because it's in Italy they have La Befana, the Christmas witch, and she's a kind-hearted but scraggly-looking witch, and she delivers gifts to children on January 5th, Epiphany Eve. And their legend, their lore around that is that she was curious about the wise men, and she was trying to follow them on their journey to Bethlehem, and she got lost somewhere along the way, and so she still roams around looking for the Christ child and leaving the gifts on Epiphany Eve. If they're good kids, she'll leave them candy or a little trinket, and she leaves rocks or coal for the bad kids. So very similar to like what we see in the other traditions. But Epiphany...
I was wondering if you were going to leave us in suspense as to what Epiphany is.
From when I studied Catholicism is... the 12 days after Christmas, I think it is, like, and it celebrates when the wise men actually came, because there was a journey, and so some people are like, oh, there was a time period, and so I think the Epiphany is about the actual visit of the Magi, and so that's why some places don't give gifts until Epiphany. They don't give them on Christmas Day. I think it's after Christmas. Yeah, it's January 5th is Epiphany Eve, according to this.
Huh.
But I'm a little rusty on that, but I think that's because I think most people think the 12 days of Christmas is before Christmas, but I think traditionally it's the 12 days after Christmas, and that a lot of people who are Catholic leave their Christmas decorations up until Epiphany.
Oh yeah, that rings a bell. All right, so Epiphany, still a mystery.
I was going to say with the Frau Parte, I'm going to say a lot of names wrong today. It sounds like the Epiphany is, if she shows up at your house, it's just like, I should have cleaned yesterday.
I wasn't expecting company. Yeah, that almost feels more like it's for housewives. Like, who's making this up? Or maybe it's for, like... Other housewives have made it up to like with Glenda down the street. Like, that bitch never sweeps up her abode.
Or further, get your kids to clean their room. It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's part of it. You got to be a good kid and clean your room too.
There was something that had to do with like a spinning thread, like needle, and what are those things called? Like the thing that Sleeping
Spindle?
Beauty. What?
Spindle?
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah. I don't remember the whole thing. I looked at a lot of stuff and read through some things. Oh, and one guy referred to it as a goose foot, her one big foot. I don't know. Guys, you didn't come here to get the real information. You're just here to have fun with us, right?
Although this is slightly more educational than normal.
Yeah.
Education adjacent.
That's what edutainment.
Just to give you some alternative ideas.
I thought you were going to say alternative facts. No, we're not Fox News.
Well, alternative to just the same old customs that we're all used to. We're going to throw the crazy stuff at you. You know?
I mean, if you're tired of giving your kids coal for Christmas, I mean, here's
Old Goosefoot. What else you got?
the Mari
Marilad.
Yeah, Marilad. This is more New Year's than Christmas, but pretty freaky too. This one's Welsh.
Welsh, yeah.
And what is it? The person shows up and has like a horse skull for a head.
Yes, it's an old Welsh tradition. Marilad actually translates either to Grey Mary or Grey Mare, and people still carry it out today, but it goes way back into like the pre-Christian times and everything, and is sort of similar to Halloween actually, because the people, they put the horse head, you know, they have a horse skull tied to a post, and then they put a bed sheet on it, they decorate it with ribbons and bells, and they would traditionally, you know, go from home to home with this costume, and they would knock at the door, and the person is actually, they said it was a very early rap battle because the Marilad comes demanding cakes and ale, or in the current vernacular, beer and snacks, and then the person has to respond with a rhyming retort of why they can't fulfill that request, and if they're not able to come up with a retort to send the Marilad away, the Marilad will come into their home and take what it wants of their ale and their cake. But it was usually the people would just let them in, and it was just for them to come in and eat, drink, and be merry and get well sloshed as they made their way
How old
through
is
the town.
this? Do either of you know? Like, this sounds like something Shakespeare would have just made up to get away with things. Like, oh, but also you have to make it rhyme. Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
All right,
But
here
yeah,
we go.
it kind of derived from like that people go around demanding the soul cakes and stuff for Halloween, and then this kind of carried over into Christmas, you know, and it was just a way to like brighten people's spirits during this dark time of the year and everything. And it's refound popularity now. My fiance is his heritage is Welsh and French, so this is his favorite. And we watched a whole little documentary about the Marilad on YouTube by a guy named the Welsh Viking, and he showed how like he had gotten a real horse skull and cleaned it up and everything, and he showed how he made his costume. He went through all the details of how people decorate them and some of the old traditions, and did a very, very deep dive if anybody's interested in that one.
But talking about like how old this is with the having to make things rhyme and stuff, like this ain't Christmas, but that was like a very common thing. That was like their version of a drinking game. Like there's several stories of our founding fathers doing that. They would like drink, and then they would do an impromptu like rhyming poem. And like if you couldn't, then you have to take a drink and keep going and see like how drunk you could get and still come up with these poems and retorts to the other person.
I think we should bring that back into politics these days, like have a sonnet battle. But and that's also a thing. It's interesting because even in a lot of neo-pagan spiritual practices, even up to today, they will say that your metaphysical practices or your magic will work better if you do your incantations in a rhyming form. So I think rhyming has always been a bit more of that like pagan, pre-Christian tradition was to, have everything be very cyclical and rhyming and all that type of stuff. So.
All right. So the horse head.
That one is very. I would like to see someone do it. Actually, like it'd be fun. I think that one would be a fun one to do, and like.
That sounds like a way to get shot around here.
Well,
it's
yeah,
like,
that's
I did
true.
It. I got the Wendigo.
Well, yeah, people would think it was a jackalope or something, or just a hell horse or something. And they wear white sheets, so that might not be great either. Like, because the one guy was saying you can just give it ears or something. Like if you don't have a horse skull, that some people just cut out eyes and put ears on it and stuff, and bells and ribbons, and just wear a white sheet and go around and wassail. And also, in the really early traditions, the person who was portraying the Mari Lod would be blindfolded, and the other people would put a bridle on them or something and like lead them around the town. And as they got drunker and drunker, this would get quite precarious. The Welsh know how to have fun too, I guess.
I guess.
I mean, just look at their language. That has to be written out as a joke, because kind of like our next little bit, at least on my list, from Iceland. Too many consonants in their words. But next I have Grayla and the Yule Cat.
Okay, I believe, and I may be pronouncing this wrong, so forgive me, but I think the Yule Cat, it's called...
Is that the Yule Cat?
It says no caller ID.
Oh, it was the Yule Cat withholding its number.
The Yule Kitern. The Yule Kitern. Yule Kitern, or something like that, is, I believe, the name of the Icelandic Yule Cat, which I guess means like Yule Kitten or something. The Yule Kitern. Kitern.
It's like, yeah, but Grayla is a ogre, and she prowls around looking for kids to eat. And she has the Yule Lads, which is her 13 unruly children.
Yes. I had that one on my list too, the 13 Yule Lads.
Yeah. But here's what I think's kind of funny about this one is the Yule Cat. He is a very judgy fashion snob. And the Yule Cat goes around to the houses, and all the kids have to go out and show him the new clothes they got for Christmas. And if they didn't get any, they have to bring their old clothes and hope they're up to standards, because if not, he eats them.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on this too. This seems super f***ed up. Like, this was obviously made up by some bullied snob kid in school that was like...
Tim Gunn's, like, ancestor or something. Tim Gunn from Project Runway. Like, you better make it work.
I mean, I am thinking more about, like, the rich kid. I don't think Tim Gunn would, like, have... Maybe. Who knows? Maybe that's why he went on to do what he does. But I'm thinking of just some dickhead that's like, oh, you didn't get new clothes? You still got your old rags? Cat's gonna eat you.
That, or it's like to get the kids that are like, I only got socks for Christmas. It's like, hey, your grandma did that because she loves you. Now the cat won't eat you.
Will not eat you.
Yeah, put that rabbit suit on. She spent
Ralphie.
a long time on that. Now you're gonna wear it in front of her and be happy about it.
Although I would think maybe a cat, a Norwegian forest cat the size of a house, would eat a child-sized rabbit.
No, because it knows that
it's judging its fashion. Yeah, it's judging it. From what I read, one of the things that I read about it was saying that this was a way for, again, parents to encourage the kids to be well-behaved and do their chores on time and stuff, because kids who would do their chores and stuff on time would get a new outfit, get new clothes and stuff for Christmas, and kids who didn't, and that's also what the cat was judging.
No, so it's just another idle threat. Are any of these true?
Well, everything is about goading people into good behavior or whatever. Everything is like Aesop's fables, all these folklore traditions.
I learned how to get shallow water out of a cup from one of those fables. So some of those are useful. You just keep putting stones in it until you can sip out some of the water. There, and now you've learned something useful on this podcast. It only took us 2 complete seasons.
I'm skimming over this list. A lot of cannibalism.
We're working our way up to it here in America, 2025.
Because the next thing on my list, not ogre, just a guy who made a deal with the devil and turned to cannibalism.
Claude?
Hans Trapp from France. And apparently he was excommunicated, so he went and made a deal with the devil, and then he started eating people. And for some reason, returns on Christmas.
All right.
But apparently he was smited by God himself with lightning before he could take his first bite of the children.
So had he already eaten adults? I'm going to add that to the lore.
No, I don't think so. Because it said he lured a shepherd boy to his death, then cooked him, but didn't get to eat him.
God, what a tease.
I guess his real life counterpart but he did get to eat some children, I guess, was Albert Fish.
Yeah.
That one was real.
Yeah, that was real. But sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
I kind of wish I'd found a different article because this just gives you the iceberg. It's like, okay, what does this have to do with Christmas? Because it's like,
yeah,
he
why does he
returns
come back
Christmas.
on Christmas?
So, why?
Albert Fish will get you. If you don't, I don't know, be good. Eat your vegetables. Eat your Christmas vegetables, or Albert Fish is going to come and put pins in your, well,
never mind.
You can read about that.
Yeah, look him up or don't.
Yeah.
If you want to, ever sleep again.
I'm sure A24 is working on a biopic about that. That'll be their first documentary or something.
Would A24 even go there? I don't know.
I think
probably.
They would.
Yeah, they probably would. You're right. What am I saying? I'm the biggest A24 fan there is. So.
All right. So Cannibal French guy.
Yeah.
Man, you know that kid was like well marinated. My I don't know why he brought it up, but the manager I hate at work, he knows I hate him. He probably listens to this too because he's obsessed with me. So, if you are, why would you listen to this? Anyway, he was talking about some cannibalistic tribe. And I can't remember where. I tune out. I try not to. And I know that I'd heard this somewhere before, but I only bring this up because he mentioned it just the other day, that they refer, like the translation of what they refer to human meat as is long pork.
Yeah. They have a joke about that in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen them in so long. I don't remember that. But yeah, so I guess we taste like pigs.
Supposedly.
Porcine? So did Albert Fish do anything around Christmas?
Well, I don't know, but part of the reason he was weird is because he was sent away to a parochial school and was punished a lot by the nuns. And apparently that turned him into like a masochist and a sadist at the same time.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not an Albert Fish expert, but now this is turning into a conversation about serial killers.
Why is Christmas so up? Why do we have to do this at the darkest time of the year anyway? Like 10 years ago, I was so optimistic, like delusionally optimistic. And I would tell people when they're like, oh, I've got do they call it the Christmas? I don't know. And especially working in retail, it can affect people so easily. And they're like, I understand. And I'm like, no, you don't. I think I must have said this at some point. I hate that Ebenezer Scrooge is synonymous with what he's like at the beginning of the book, because that is obviously not what Dickens intended. And everybody knows this story. It's one of the most adapted stories, parodied and adapted for, think of all the TV shows that have done like a one-off.
It's even got the Muppet treatment.
Yeah, Michael Caine. That's one of the best ones. Not one of my favorites is
Patrick
Stewart. Yes, It doesn't have the best special effects. It was made by TNT for TV, but I just the Bob Cratchit, Richard E. Grant plays Bob Cratchit, and Patrick Stewart plays Ebenezer Scrooge, and they carry it so well.
Yeah, it has the most emotional depth to it, I think, of any adaptation that I have watched.
Patrick Stewart really embodies both extremes, and I think, and I saw a live musical interactive play. This is crazy. Last Christmas at like this old historical mansion out in, God, I don't remember where it was. Danville, Georgetown, not Georgetown. I really don't remember where it was. Somewhere we'd never been, and it was musical. You go through kind of this, different scenes are in different rooms, and everybody just kind of walks into another room and they get set up and do a different thing. It was completely rewritten as the wife of Marley, Bob Cratchit, and Ebenezer Scrooge's ex all portray the ghosts of past, present, and future. They double up on those. Yeah, and they both project an aspect of that. So that was so interesting. And the guy that played Ebenezer Scrooge looked like a mix of Dan Stevens, who actually played Charles Dickens a couple of years back in that movie, and Ralph Fiennes. He was
so a mix of good looking and bizarre looking.
He just looked like, it was right in the middle. I've got I can show you a photo. When we're actually, I'll see if I can look this up while we get your live reaction.
Yeah, because now I'm trying to imagine that, and it's very hard to imagine.
Good looking guy though, but like he interacted with me personally, like a few of the, because I was like near the area where he was coming, where he would be doing stuff at, and he would either like toward at the beginning, kind of a dick, like out of the way, you know, and it's as if we're just passive observers, but are there. And at the end, I wanted to they brought me to the edge of tears with how emotional it got, because he has this reunion with Marley. And I thought, if this is completely rewritten, it's going to be bad. They're going to miss things. There was some of the songs didn't work that they did, some of the scenes, but like as a whole, I thought one of the better renditions that I've seen that's not from the original, that's truncated. I get my phone out to take a photo of this last shot, and then he makes eye contact with me and comes straight for me, because everybody in the place starts coming to all the people lining the walls to shake their hands and give them hugs or whatever. As the play is technically over, but it's not. This is part of it, to have this goodwill and spread this cheer. And I just think that, like I used to say, I'm Ebenezer Scrooge. At the end of the thing, at the end of the book, that's the point of it, is to be deliriously happy, to not to keep that, the thing that we're supposed to do and be on Christmas in your heart year round. I gotta tell you guys.
Yeah, I remember the quote, like, I shall remember Christmas, and I shall keep it in my heart all year round.
Yeah, it's been real hard.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you, this specific past year,
it's like that Grinch guy. I get it.
Yeah, and that was something I was sitting here thinking about as you were talking about that, is how similar, when you really think about it, how similar in a way the story of the Grinch and the story of Ebenezer Scrooge is. Because obviously, you know, the Grinch is all grumpy and hates the Who's, and even comes and wants to take what they have away from them. But then, of course, he has that epiphany too. So both of those stories are about these characters who, you know, come to embody, you know, they go from being the antithesis of it to embodying the holiday spirit and being the chief revelers of sorts.
Here he is. That's him with the top hat next to me there. Mm-hmm. Can you not see this? Like, so in that, I actually think he just looks more like Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, I was going to say.
In person, without the top hat and everything.
Especially in his younger days.
That's like a bit of harsh lighting. But yeah, it did look a little younger, and I guess maybe like a young Ralph Fiennes, which is kind of what I think Dan Stevens looks like, a young Ralph Fiennes. Because we think of Ralph Fiennes like when he came into prominence, like 30s and 40s, when he was already like, you know, a little more established. Not like as a young, like, think of Morgan Freeman. Hold Morgan Freeman in your mind. Now imagine Morgan Freeman as 19 years old. You can't do it! So don't try. Yeah, it breaks your brain, doesn't it? Because he didn't exist back then. He was just plopped down onto this earth at 47 years old. And that's how he has looked ever since. Anyway, back to Christmas. Yeah.
But no, I think you've struck upon something that maybe kind of goes along with this whole theme, is that because these things come from the pagan traditions and stuff, and it was the dark half of the year, and it was a very dreary and harsh time, and it was sort of for them it was more like, because in the pagan tradition, New Year begins on Samhain, on Halloween. Mm-hmm. But you're probably dealing with like the things that have happened prior to that time period. And so I think it's always been a time of like, you're going through the darkness and life is a bit harsher and you are thinking about the past and all of this. And so I think it's always been a bit of a dreary time and a harsh time for people. And that's why people gravitate to these celebrations and stuff, is to keep their spirits up and to kind of celebrate like, hey, we made it through and like we got to keep going and, eat, drink and be merry and that kind of thing. So I think that's where a lot of this comes from. And I think that's why there's such an emphasis in some of the popular stories and stuff about like the hardships and the negative side of it, but also trying to find that joy and celebration and that kind of thing. And I think that is something that we need, because as we do get older and we go through life experiences and stuff, we do turn into, it gets harder to be like Ebenezer at the end of the story. I think it does get harder to...
Unless you're operating under the threat of a giant cat coming to eat you. Mm-hmm. So remember, buy yourself something nice if nobody else is going to. Because that cat's going to eat you.
The next little guy's on my list, a little bit more fun than cannibal, I guess. But it's the Kali Kansari. This is from like Greece and the Mediterranean, Turkey, those areas. But these are little furry goblins who for most of the year live underground, trying to bring about the apocalypse.
Critters?
I mean, the picture they're showing here may be from...
Tribbles? Tribbles? The trouble with tribbles?
Do they Voltron together?
If they're Christmas ones, then maybe they're Mogwai. They're Gremlins.
Gremlins was a Christmas movie.
Finally got Sarah to watch that the other night.
They're Gizmo. Bunch of little gizmos.
So, did you pause after that part at the very beginning when that girl talks about how her dad got stuck in the...
Oh, that's not the beginning. That's near the end.
Is it near the end?
She mentions it at the start. Wrong. She's like, yeah, Christmas isn't a happy time for me. And you're like, oh, yes, obviously something bad happened. Then she just drops it. She's like, what the...
Is it just like this moment of reprieve? Like there's a quiet moment and she just tells the story? Because I don't remember at what point. Yeah. I thought it was near the beginning.
No, it's like the gremlins have already started tearing the town up. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, this is the second worst Christmas or another reason to hate Christmas.
I remember now.
And then she just drops it. Yeah, it's just like, this is PG.
yeah. Which, that's even... Is it a PG movie?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this came out of the same year that
we were all
Temple of Doom
permanently
did.
scarred. We were all
before...
permanently scarred by the Neverending Story, so...
Yeah. So the girl, the co-lead in this, drops this story about how her dad got stuck in the chimney. Was he dressed as Santa too? And died, and they had to find him, right?
Yeah, they found him when they lit a fire and they started smelling it. Yeah. This is a children's movie.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. If you've never seen Gremlins, that movie it's all over the place. And
No, Gremlins is on track. Gremlins 2 is all over the place.
Yeah, Gremlins 2 was kind of meant to be a protest movie, very similarly to the new Joker movie. Being like a...
corporate America.
Yeah, like done completely in protest and to like pretty much ruin its own legacy.
I can easily see that. Like and as it's been pointed out, I can't remember if it was Quentin Tarantino or who it was. Like the real Joker is Todd Phillips, who just took millions of dollars from Warner Brothers and just said like, I'm gonna burn this money because it's not about making money. It's about making a statement.
Yeah, it does embody the anarchy, the whole spirit of the Joker, I guess, to do that.
Yeah. I mean, in the spirit of this holiday season and buying things, I've heard bulletproof vests have gone up in sales for the people who can afford them, at least.
Okay, looking further into this article, another fun fact about these little goblin guys who want to bring about the apocalypse, it specifically says that they are grotesquely well endowed. Whatever that means.
Define
what was the
grotesquely?
I don't know. It doesn't elaborate further.
Are we back on the long pork thing?
Oh, yeah, there's your long pork. Oh my goodness. So critters, but with really big dicks.
Essentially.
Like, what is that? The tapir? The tapir is the animal.
The tapir?
Yeah,
I know what a tapir is.
And it has like
Does
the
it
biggest...
have a famously large engorgement? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that about a tapir.
Yeah, relative to size, the largest in the animal kingdom.
Really? A tapir? I thought it was some sort of whale.
I mean, I think like in relative.
To
relative
its
to its size, yeah.
Okay. Huh. Well,
You learn
I'm not
something
looking
new
that
every day.
up, but
This is a path I didn't think this was going to go, but
All right, really? Always, it can go any number of ways.
yeah.
I'm just saying this article kind of leaves us hanging, much like these little goblins.
Is there I started to say, is there a purpose to why they're... Does that have something to do with how they bring about the apocalypse?
What are they going to do? Are they going to eat you, or are they going to...
I don't know. This is most of the year. They're underground, trying to bring about the apocalypse.
The apocalypse.
Then, during the Advent, they come out and terrorize humans and with mischief and evil.
Okay. And equipped to do so.
Around and find out.
What are we... They just do it? Is there any way to prevent it? Like buying new clothes or sweeping up the house?
No.
Okay. They're just coming. Where is this one from?
It's the apocalypse.
Greece.
Again?
I think we're back to cannibalism, though.
I want a euro. Any more on that?
No, like I said, they just let it hang there.
Okay. All right.
No pun intended that time. But
is there any information on how they're trying to bring about the apocalypse?
Also doesn't say that.
We're
gonna be our whole next episode.
Yeah, I gotta know like what this is about. And the next time I'm at Shiraz in Louisville, I'm gonna ask this woman if she's ever heard of these things, if this is legit. I almost feel like there's like one on every list that somebody just made up just to with whoever. Like, I'm gonna read about Christmas weird stuff, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna put critters on there. Oh, except they have really huge penises, and they're trying to bring. This sounds like the most random bullshit I have ever heard in my. Like the rest of it, the Yule cat. It's funny. Giant cat's gonna come and eat you if you don't have nice new clothes or believe in the power of fashion, and the old hag is gonna come and get you if you like pull out your intestines if you didn't sweep or wash your dishes. But like the apocalypse bringing fuzzballs that have like it's like a dust bunny with a carrot. How does it even move about? Or is it okay?
Pogo stick.
We need to move on. Becky, go. Cleanse my mental palate.
Well, this isn't going to help.
Oh, God.
This one isn't scary, but just like bizarre. Like, where do people get some of their ideas? Like, like this kind of what we were just talking about. In Catalonia and in regions of Spain, they have something called the Cago Tío, and it is the Yuletide Christmas pooping log.
Because why not?
And so families in that region will bring a big Yule log inside. They paint a face on it and they cover it in a blanket. And every night, when they have dinner and stuff, they bring food to feed the log and, sing songs to it and keep it happy and stuff. And then on Christmas Eve, the children get to hit the log with sticks and sing a song demanding their Christmas gifts. And then during the night, the log poops out their Christmas gifts.
Of course it does.
And on top of that, I didn't write this one down, but they also, in the same area, in Spain, they have a tradition of putting a human figure that is pooping or, seated on a toilet or something in with their other holiday decorations because it's supposed to bring good luck. Somehow, in Spain, poop is associated with good luck.
Is that like a grotesque metaphor for out with the old?
Well, maybe. Or maybe they're like, get rid of the shit.
I gotta tell you, if anybody's ever been constipated, that's not good luck.
But yeah, it's kind of like, what started that in Spain? That they were like, our Christmas traditions are going to center around pooping.
This wasn't exactly what I meant when I said cleanse my mental palate.
Well, I said this is not going to help.
That's fair. I should have known better.
But when I was reading about both of those traditions, it just instantly made me think of Mr. Hanky the Christmas poo.
For some reason,
from South Park.
There's only one.
Yeah, well, as per tradition.
It made me think of the TARDIS for some reason, because there's that room that deep down, it's a Capaldi episode. No, it's a Matt Smith episode, where like somewhere deep down in the TARDIS, there's a room and it just makes anything you can think of. It wasn't a good episode.
Like the Room of Requirement?
Yeah. I think it was Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, and then they have to use time travel bullshit to make the day not have happened, but somehow the Doctor remembers everything because, he's Time Lord. Anyway,
little off topic, but are they doing a Christmas special this year?
I don't think so.
This would be the first that they have in a long time.
Yeah, since Jodie, right? Didn't they? They did a New Year's one for her, didn't they? 1 year, but not a Christmas.
I can't remember. I try to put those out of mind.
We've gotten off track.
We never stay on track.
Just Doctor Who. Doctor Who is off track.
So back to weird people killing kids. The last one on my list, I think, is Pierre Foutard. He was a butcher.
French one again?
Yes.
Okay.
And him and his wife would kidnap, rob, and kill wealthy children, carve them up, and hide them in salt barrels. But apparently, St. Nick found out about this, came in, brought the kids back to life, and then forced this guy into bondage as his eternal cannibal manservant. And so now...
Does he need a cannibal manservant? Was there a big demand for that?
That seems kind of counterproductive to me. It's like, all right, I'm going to bring these kids back to life, then force this guy to follow me around and eat the bad kids. I guess Santa's running out of coal, so he's got to thin the herd, I guess.
Because why not? And thinning the herd, another popular theme. If you're listening in the far-flung future, it's December 11th, 2024. We live on the verge of revolution.
Yeah, maybe this will be the year that those little gremlin things, those little critters, come up and actually achieve the apocalypse.
Oh, I wish.
I mean, at this point, would that even be a surprise? Be like, it's Tuesday. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Is it Tuesday?
No, it's Wednesday.
Okay.
It's Wednesday.
Maybe. I don't know.
It was so close.
Oh, but I did want to say, because obviously, this is a auditory, not a visual podcast. The weather decided to cooperate with our theme today.
Yeah.
It was beautiful yesterday. It was warm and pleasant, and woke up this morning and there was snow on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, the roads aren't bad, but it's stuck. There's a good inch out there. So it looks nice and
So
Christmassy.
it looks the part, yeah.
And it stayed a little cloudy, so it's nice and what most people would consider dreary, I consider a pleasant day.
I was going to say, do those exist anymore?
No, we'll see what the headlines bring. Free my man Luigi so he can finish God's work.
Yeah, I was going to say a while ago, like when you were talking about the one guy that you showed me the picture of, and you were talking about like he's actually a good looking guy. And I was like, well, is he as good looking as America's sweetheart now? Like...
Okay,
yeah, they're gonna
not
knock.
good looking.
They're gonna
okay?
knock. Yeah, they're gonna knock. Whoever was it? John Krasinski, I think this year was voted sexiest man alive. They're gonna have to redo that now and put our boy Luigi on the cover of People.
Yeah, there's. Allison sent me a little video. I can't make this bigger, but there he is. Yeah, I mean, like a young Ralph Fiennes, which I think
I can see it, yeah.
It's not my thing. Like, maybe I'm judging inaccurately. Like, I can see Luigi almost seems like AI generated. Like, he's too good looking to be what he is, which is a national hero. Not necessarily what you think. Like, he doesn't actually have the Punisher logo on anything. He just does it.
Yeah, I saw a friend of mine had posted a meme yesterday that had, what's this, McGruff or whatever, the crime dog. Mm-hmm. And it was like, if you see someone, shooting a CEO, no, you actually didn't.
And if the pigs try to get at you, drop it like it's hot. All right. Is there a...
I'm out of weird Christmas things. You got any more on your list?
No, I mean, nothing as weird as that. A lot of these were just customs that people do. Like, there was a thing about people decorate with spider webs and spiders in Ukraine because it goes back to some story about some woman who couldn't afford Christmas decorations, and the spiders in her house, like, did all these beautiful webs. And so in Ukraine, they still decorate with spiders and spider webs.
We just left all of our Halloween decorations up. So,
and
from the party.
Oh, and in Norway, you're supposed to hide your brooms on Christmas because if you don't, the witches can come in. And because the witches are the antithesis of Christmas, apparently. And they'll come in and steal your brooms and ride around and cause mischief in your town.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Hide your brooms. And then this one that doesn't really have anything to do with any of that, but just to show, like, it's weird how certain things, like we were talking about with Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola's marketing had a lot to do with the imagery that we use at Christmas time. With Santa and the red suit and even the polar bears and all that type of stuff. Like, that imagery gets put into, and it's like weird how certain things just take hold. And apparently KFC is almost sacred
in Japan.
In Japan, yeah. KFC is like a big deal. They don't really celebrate Christmas per se, but somehow the American culture, like,
I actually know this one.
It influenced, and they sell these holiday buckets that have chicken, cake, and champagne. And if you can't get one, you're kind of shamed in certain circles of Japan.
Yeah,
like, people go on waiting lists for these things.
It started out that they didn't really have Christmas in Japan. So for, like, the Americans and all the other people that were, like, abroad, for, like, closest thing to, like, a turkey dinner, they had KFC. And so they would start going there and do their Christmas thing. And then the Japanese people just kind of picked up with it and ran. And so now it's this big thing. And, like, you have to, like, almost book in advance.
How much of this do you think? Because a lot of these, just all basically, we've mentioned this, all boil down to forcing, like, lying to your kids to scare them into being good. Like, a lot of it now comes down to, you just won't get something nice, and they're gonna get something nice anyway, but, like, Santa won't bring you this thing if you don't be good, and the kids are bad anyway, and you still give them whatever, and then they're still bad because you're raising a small monster because you don't know how to be a parent. But, like, it's not that traumatic, right? Like you're gonna get coal, but they don't get coal. And then, in a lot of these other places, like, the winter witch will come and slice your stomach open and take your entrails out and replace it with, hay and straw. You don't want to be walking around with hay and straw inside you, do you? No, because you get made fun of or something, or maybe you'll just be dead. And then we'll just have to use you for a scarecrow. You don't want to be the next scarecrow, do you? So, but, like, that'd scare a kid. And, like, you never know what's gonna... Is there something from, like, your childhood that you're still scared of? I know that you had a dream when you were... you think you were in your 20s, maybe in your teens, that still scares you, that traumatized
the
you.
Scarecrow, yeah.
The corn thing?
Yeah, the corn monster, which is very weird because Children of the Corn was one of the only movies that scared me when I was a kid. It was one of the only ones that put me off of horror movies for a little bit. And then years and years later...
Blonde children still scare me to this day.
I had the dream about the corn monster, and it's still very vivid in my mind because he had, like, just the stalks, like, no face, just the leaves for, like, a face, and then his arms could just grow really long, and he was just chasing me. Like, he looked like a big giant scarecrow with, like, the leaves, the stalks for, like, faces, and, like, was just chasing me, and it was so horrific, and I don't know why, and now just... Sometimes when I see scarecrows or something, I'm like...
About how old were you when you saw Children of the Corn, though? Because that one is, what, mid-'80s? Or was the first one late 70s?
Maybe I'm thinking I was probably, like, maybe 10 or something.
Okay.
Like not a teenager, like, because... Well, no, it may have even been younger than that, because I was in 5th grade when I wanted to have a birthday party at that one video rental store, and they wouldn't let me show Nightmare on Elm Street. And so I canceled the party. So that was 5th grade. So yeah, I guess Children of the Corn was maybe before that.
Did you have something that was associated with Christmas that was traumatic? Do you ever remember?
Oh, it's weird that you said the thing about dreams, because it's funny how certain dreams will stay with you like your whole life.
Yeah, even though we're not supposed to be able to remember them. But
when I was very young, I'm thinking probably 6 or 7 maybe. And we did big, we made Christmas like a big deal back then. And I remember having like the tree and all the gifts and this and that. But for some reason, I had a dream that an old lady, like an old ghost lady, was living in our Christmas tree. And I became scared of the Christmas tree. And I still remember that. I still remember, like, that I was afraid of the Christmas tree for a little while because I thought there was an old ghost lady.
Do you remember why?
No, I don't. Like, I don't remember why I, like, had that dream or was scared of that or something. But, and the weird part of it is like, in my dream, I remember the lady looking like the old woman that takes care of the granny from Looney Tunes, that, like, takes care of Sylvester, with, like, the little white bun and the glasses.
I know her well.
Yeah, that's kind of what the little ghost lady looked like that crawled out of the Christmas tree in my dream when I was like 6 or 7. I don't know.
Do you have any childhood trauma associated with, I want to say, like, specifically Christmas, but tangentially related even?
Not that I can think of from childhood.
And I can't think of it. I mean, like, something happened. I don't really remember my first 5.5 years, just sprinkled bits. But there's this other folkloric legend that you guys glossed over. I can't believe you missed it. Where in the future, parents are just going to install cameras in your room, and you're not going to know where, and they're just going to have a lock on you all the time. They're going to know what you're doing all the time. If you're bad, they're going to know. If you masturbate, they're going to know. You have no privacy. There's no secrets. There's no private thoughts. Big Brother is inside your head all the time. Forever, maybe. And it resides in a little doll. A nice little doll they'll put on your shelf. And it looks at you. That's right. Why be good to your kids or let them have any kind of semblance of individuality or free thinking when you can just tell them, no, forever and ever. No to you, no to anything. That's really up. Like, I know, we're supposed to do this fun little game. Oh, look at this fun little game we're playing because somebody came up with a thing that's a toy and it's going to sell 1 million things until it immediately gets like ripped off, and you can just make one little change and hopefully whoever came up with this idea is bankrupt now. But I know it's a fun little game. No, I think it's really up. I've heard both sides of this argument. Several years ago they had a whole panel discussion on NPR about this. But like, in this age of we are already in 1984, I went to go look for it the other day. Oddly enough, still in the fiction section. Strange. Anyway, yeah. Big Brother's always watching. Everybody, I've actually had people say like, oh, it's so funny. Like I was talking about this near my phone and then like I open my phone up and like it's already on there on my Facebook feed or getting advertised to me on Instagram or something. But I don't believe in it. You know how many people I've heard like had a casual conversation like, but I don't believe in it. And then all these stories keep coming out saying like, yeah, they'll randomly turn your microphone on so they can just eavesdrop on you. And that's real. We have this. I mean, you literally, people, I go over to a friend's house and they're like, hey, something, do this thing. And this thing happens. We're already here. We're already living in it and have been for a long time. And then you just traumatize the kid further by saying, I know some people are going to be like, it's a game. Snoop Dogg's got a version. Martha Stewart has a version. Martha Stewart has a version? What? I mean, I want the Snoop Dogg one. And the memes range from dumb to like kind of funny. But still, I think this is one of the darkest things of all. It's not like something's gonna come gobble you up. Something's gonna come slit your throat in the middle of the night if you don't be good on Christmas. And I love you. So I don't want that to happen. You just please be good. Don't be a little monster, okay? Like I raised you to be, like the rest of like the 11 months out of the year. Or, hey, guess what? No more secrets. This thing's got its eyes on you all the time. Santa sees you when you're sleeping too. Doesn't matter if you pull the covers up. I know what's going on under there. Like in our modern Judeo-Christian society, we have so much guilt over just everything. Everything's against the thumb religion. Can't have pork. Can't have coffee. Can't have extramarital affairs without somebody looking at you.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that it does, like all of these traditions and stuff goes back to morality.
Yeah, and you stopped eating sugar last year.
Well, I didn't, but...
Oh, well, gonna be judging you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you said in the future, I thought you meant Robot Santa.
And the Kwanzaa bot.
But yeah, everything does go back. And that's what I was going to say is, doesn't the elf on the shelf kind of negate Santa's powers? Because Santa could already, see you. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So why does he need his little elf watching you?
They were taking it up a notch. And this is all just corporate America. Somebody came up with a toy, and it's the Slinky. But they put 2 eyes on the Slinky and say, like, this thing can see you no matter what. I know what you're thinking. It's somebody, like, took Big Brother to heart. And they were like, at the end of the day, it's a toy. And they're like, oh, it's a game parents play with their kids. I don't think so. I mean, I'm taking it like up a notch. But this is the next thing.
Chris clearly has some trauma around the elf on the shelf right now.
100 years, assuming this isn't still around, that it's died off or become so bastardized from iterations and versions that it's so different we've forgotten what elf on a shelf is. Or in 2 or 3 or 500 years, like some of these legends we're talking about are probably thousands of years old. They're going to say, the parents would bring the demon home and just put it right next to your bed, and it lived with you for like a month while it watched your every move and knew what you were doing at all times. And if you were bad, then we can get into, you just got fewer gifts because those blonde spoiled asshole American kids got stuff anyway. It just wasn't as good, which is really the worst thing of all, isn't it? Or insert whatever bloody mutilation, or the elf would eat you, or the parents would be killed in the night, and then you'd have to like discover them and like live on the street, you know, whatever. Hopefully this podcast is this very episode is all that's left of American Christmas lore in 500 to 1,000 years. And if you are still listening, here at the end, I'd like to tell you all of that really happened. It was as bad as we were saying, and I hope you rebuild society accordingly.
Learn from our mistakes.
Don't let these traditions die. And if I'm still there, hey, what's up, me? Wasn't that a good time when we were on that podcast and ruined it at the end? That was great.
Yeah, I think we can wrap up there. Unless you got anything else.
No, I don't.
If you made it with us this far, thank you. If we've left out any other kind of weird or creepy Christmas folklore, comment below, let us know. Or if you want to expand on anything we've talked about, definitely comment below. Be sure
Or if an actual, for some reason, Catholic person wants to, correct us on what Epiphany is.
But if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram. We'll leave links below. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. And until next time, see ya.